name is Felicia Medine, and in class 2002.
I'm Crystal Lozano, class of 2001.
I'm Christina Gabrielson, class of 2001.
I'm Martha Hernandez from class 1994.
I'm Therese Goligay, class of 1995.
I'm Mary Marquez Papaco, class of 1991.
I'm Vincent Collier, class of 2002.
Actually do remember this day. My elementary, I went to a Catholic school in Pacoima. It was Mary Immaculate. And when the time came, both of my parents, they sat me down and they said, okay, we really don't have any money. And I was like, okay, that's fine. You know, what would be my options? And they said, well, there's St. Genevieve, or you could go to public school. And I was like, St. Genevieve. That's where I knew some of my friends were going to be attending here as well. So I was like, there you go. I'm going to start being a Valiant and let me go. And I was actually lucky enough to get a grant and attend here. So that really helped, being in the position that I was at the time.
I did not choose St. Genevieve. I was actually forced to come here because I was doing very bad in public school my freshman year. So my mom said, okay, you're gonna go to St. Genevieve. That's where your cousin went. Both your cousins went, so you're gonna go there too. And I was totally dead set against it. Even like the first day, it was like kicking and screaming not to get out of the car. My first day, I remember I met actually Felicia and her classmates. Like I kind of came in I felt like I kind of came in as a freshman with them. And it was my sophomore year and I was nervous. And eventually I kind of got used to it and I liked it. And I was like, all right, cool, it's fine. But eventually I liked the fact, I liked the community that I felt eventually with my classmates, because we were such a small class too. Mm-hmm. We were 60, I believe, a little over 60.
We were, yeah.
And it's like everybody knew everybody, and I was like, oh, this is so different from the public school I was at. It was like you were just one in 1,000, and so yeah, I really liked that.
So for me, my mom back in the 80s, she wanted to put me here because she had heard from the neighborhood around us whose kids went to St. Genevieve that it was a really great school. But back then, if you didn't start out in the beginning, you had to be on a waiting list. And so I was on that waiting list forever. And in the meantime, I was in public school. So when it came time to choose if I wanted to go to Alamany, which is where most of my classmates went, or come to St. Genevieve's, I decided on St. Genevieve just because I was bullied a lot in middle school. So I didn't want to see those faces. And this was the church that we came to since I was a kid, was St. Genevieve. So I was very excited to start a new chapter, brand new, clean slate with people I didn't know, and just, I was just excited to be here.
I didn't choose to come to St. Genevieve. I was at St. Elizabeth for 7th and 8th grade, and prior to that I was in public school in another city. And my mom was shocked, the culture shock here in LA when we came here at 7th grade, so she put me in St. Elizabeth because that's the church my aunts and cousins went to. Then when it came to high school, I wanted to go where most of those classmates were going to, because I had made friends. Actually, they wanted to go to Notre Dame.
Oh, Notre Dame.
And some were coming here. It was out of the question, Notre Dame, the price. And actually, St. Genevieve's was kind of out of the question too. My mom was a single mom. My dad didn't want me to come here. She really pushed for me to come here. And I ended up also getting some kind of grant that helped my mom pay through the Archdiocese. And that's really how I came every year, because she would have to apply for it every year and get it to help us pay for it. Eventually, I was fine coming here because I did come with some of my classmates from 8th grade, and I did like how the community and how I have some of those friendships still to this day, that I that I met here in ninth grade.
So I had to fight with them to come to St. Genevieve.
Wow.
So
Wait,
yeah.
Why did they want to go to?
They wanted, I guess at the time, St. Genevieve didn't have all the options they have now.
Oh, yeah.
My parents wanted me to look to, I guess, get more opportunity, maybe meet new people. And I think in my mind, I wanted to come to school with the friends I had from
'Cause they were moving up, too.
elementary school. So then high school comes around. I didn't hang out with any of those girls whatsoever. Totally made the people that I came here for. They did not. But the difference was that I think we still hung out sporadically, but I had met people who I felt matched me from the growth I had over the summer. So it was just
Yo, we almost
it was
lost you,
completely
dude.
different. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I totally could have
That means
been.
your brother wouldn't have came here?
Yeah, my brother wouldn't have been here, and I would have met my husband. He's a
he
Notre
went to
Dame
Notre
guy.
Dame.
He graduated in '98.
Or you would have not?
Or have not married
You
him
would have not
because
met
he's
him.
like younger, So, but yeah, and I had coming to St. Genevieve was great because even though sometimes I don't feel like I had the opportunities I could have, what I gained in character was so much different than what I could have gained in like experience because I got out into the real world and you're gonna experience stuff. Just what is your morality? What is your character going in to experience those things? So I think St. John's prepared me for that.
I came here in third grade, like I mentioned. We used to live in LA, but my parents then bought a house in Arleta, and they both worked downtown, so it got to be hard to drive me all the way to school in downtown. So they moved me here when it was $45 a month for tuition. Yeah, $45 a month. I remember that. You had to send the check in the envelope.
In the
and bring it
yellow
to school.
envelope,
The
right?
yellow envelope.
Can we get that back? Like for like a month or two? 2 months? 2 months?
So, I was here since third grade. I'm still very good friends with a lot of the kids that I met here. And so Mike and I met here. We had biology together.
I think just like you guys, that I had no choice to come here. But at the same time, I think I was kind of expecting it. Elementary, obviously, but going into high school, back in the day, the yearbooks used to tell you what high school you're going to.
Oh yeah.
Right? It would say St. James. You're like, oh man, that guy's going to Alumni. What is he going to Alumni? Why is he going to Crespi? And we were just always like, yeah, I'm going to St. James. My brothers went here, graduated in 96 and 2000. And even back then, as you guys can all attest to, when me and Felicia started, it was different. When you guys were there the whole time, it was different. And we kind of saw that change over time. All of a sudden, you can have short hair, you can have earrings. That was a big, big change. And not that people came just for that, but like when Mr. Horn came, that was like a whole different ball game.
Oh yeah.
Because back in elementary, you don't know. We had to white out our little Nike signs on the shoes with Sharpies. That's just the old school. I know you guys remember that. I'm sure your brother used to
They
do all
allowed
the time.
colored hair.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
could
I
have.
had pink hair.
Yeah, which makes total sense now. You think about it back then, it's like, why were they making us do that? Because now it's really the person inside, not person that you're showing. You know what I mean? So when we came, when you're in high school, you're not thinking about where your kid's gonna go to high school or school at all. But there is no doubt in my mind. My parents got married here in 1975, and when the church still had that like gate around the around the altar.
Where you did communion.
Yeah. It was like a marble gate over everything.
And you knelt there.
And then fast forward to 2012 when I got married here. That's like 25 years later. And it's kind of cool to see my parents walk in and see your parents.
I know.
It's like just kind of crazy to see them in the same church. Yeah, it's different, but it's just really cool. And like I said, like that choice for us was like a no-brainer because we wanted, just like everyone said, those people. I still talk to maybe 65% of my class. And like 35% maybe of our graduating class was lifers. So I still see a lot of those guys, still can text them here and there. And that's rare. And you see that across all of our years.
Yeah,
Like,
I
you
was
still
just
see
going to
someone-
say, it's not even just your grade. It's
Yeah.
whoever
it's
was there at the
across.
time you were going to school.
It ends up being the same thing. And it's kind of weird. It's like history was repeating itself. Like my brother's 2 years older than me, and my oldest brother's 6 years older than me. And you just had like the same siblings. And even with Mary, we have the same grades also. it's a second grader and a fourth grader.
yeah.
And it's kind of crazy to see the same things happening, going up, and and then we're parents.
Miss Bush.
Oh, Miss Bush. Yeah.
Miss Bush, if you ever watch this, you already know you were and are my favorite teacher. I still keep contact sometimes. But that's just another great thing. She helped me embrace my individuality. I was in a play, we did Rumors, Arthur Miller's, and I do actually have anxiety, and she was the first one to be like, do it, you can do it, you got this. So I tried out, I did it, I was able to just do everything, but she was just this amazing teacher, and she had this like air about her that she made you feel like, you know, you could do what you wanted to do in the classroom. And she made you feel smart, you know, accepted whatever difference that you had. Do you remember we had to do like our eulogies or and that, even though it sounds a little dark, but it made us like really say who we were. And like in high school, it's a weird time, you know, for everything, but she just kind of made you feel welcome, you know, like you can do it. And she was just, you know, amazing.
Mr. Van.
Van Kondo.
Van Kondo.
You gotta do it with your arms.
Is he still doing that? Is he still Van Kondo?
I don't know. During my time, he was a spy, like a secret agent. He had like a suitcase or something, and he had all his spy stuff in there, and he would just tell a story. And I love math. Yeah, for Algebra 1,
nice.
freshman algebra, and I love math, but he just made it even that more interesting because he always told stories, and he always just has a different angle, you know, with how he brings you the lesson. It was just so fun. And the best part was when Matthew had him last year in 8th grade. I'm like, wow, I had him for Algebra 1, and now my son has him for Algebra 1. But yeah.
Did he bust out the spy kit?
I don't know what he had. I don't think it was a spy kit. It might have been something else.
Bring it back.
He actually had it with us too, and I was like, why does he have a suitcase? And he's wearing windbreakers. Like, I don't understand that.
Well, I had two. Mr. Van was one of them, so I don't need to explain why. I mean, probably everyone watching this knows why. But so I'm not good at math at all. Like, I still can't count without my fingers, you know. And I feel like he helped me understand it. But the other person who made me feel like I could take what Mr. Van taught me and go beyond was Mr. Carter. So Vince Carter, he's a little different, you know. But the reason I liked him and the reason I looked forward to his classes was because, like, I felt like he made it easy for me to learn calculus. I'm not a math person, you know, but he made me feel like I knew what I was doing, and I did know what I was doing. But the way that he taught was very different. The way that he was able to articulate his thoughts was very precise, and he had the biggest sarcastic laugh ever, which is my family is sarcastic. So I just felt like I connected with him because he would say a joke, and we'd all be like, what? And I would get it. And then he'd be like, ha, 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 ha. Like, that would be how he would laugh. But yeah, so those are definitely my favorite two. And I know I'm bringing it back to 95, but yeah.
He was there with us.
Yeah, he was there with us.
Chemistry? Yeah.
Oh, he taught
chemistry for us. Yeah.
Oh, well, I was in his calc and trig class.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense.
Crazy.
My favorite teacher was Mr. Van. You guys already, everybody knows why, but I had him luckily for Algebra 1 and 2, and I hope my kids get him.
Yeah.
I think mine's probably Mr. Palmater, and he's still here.
Oh,
yeah.
What's up, Patrick? I think back in the day, I think he has a good balance of being your confidant and also your teacher. And I think he still does that really well now. You can tell he has really good connections with the kids, where being a father figure to them, being an authority figure, but also talking with them on their level to make sure they understand that, hey, in 10 years from now, we're going to be like colleagues at some point. And so he's got to, for the real world, you got to be ready for that. And when his kids were going here, in the elementary, he would always tell me, he's like, I don't know if I'll be here when my kids are going through, but fast forward to when we're coaching here, we were coaching his daughters, and now they're, removed like maybe 10 years from before? Yeah. And so when I see him now, I think it's like a breath of fresh air to see him, because it's kind of like seeing a friend, but also seeing a teacher, and then also seeing a father figure at the same time. He's still doing the same things, walking back and forth, now he's on the elementary side. And I think he's probably not going to watch this. He's probably got a flip phone. He got a flip phone, right, Patrick? But he's, I think he made a big, big difference back then, and still does to this day. Just like Mr. Venn, they're like, we got to name these buildings after them or something.
Yeah,
So
like
you can hear
establishments, yeah.
I gotta mention somebody else who was not a teacher, but who I really loved, and like, she was awesome, was Mrs. Hoffman, the attendance. And she had many kids that came here. One of her daughters was in my class, and she was
Heidi.
just she was just
that's
so
right.
awesome, and was kind of like a mom, and she'd greet you every day and just have like the biggest smile, even when you did something wrong, like ditch, and she had to call your mom. She was really
ditched?
No, not me. My
He's going to show up.
my friend, she still had to like call your mom, but she was really sorry about that, and because she knows you. My friend ditched, and even though we thought she didn't know, but she was not a teacher, but she was here when I graduated. She was still here.
Yeah.
It was tough, and she was kind of mean, but I appreciated that at that time, or maybe not at the time. I appreciate it now. Was Miss Brewer.
Yes. Miss Brewer.
Yeah, Miss Brewer, because
Emily.
she was tough. She showed like tough love. I was struggling in her class, and she made sure that I got the work done. She'd keep in contact with my mom. Like, they'd have notes going back and forth whether I was doing the work or not. And at the time, I'm like, man, y'all my business. Like, dang. And I'm like, you gotta talk to my mom. And my mom's like, yeah, I'm talking to your teacher. And I'm like, oh my God. But now I look back at that, I'm like, I appreciate that. Like, as a mom, especially, I'm like, okay, like, you care. You're showing me that you care. You actually care that I get to pass your class, that I get the work done. And I can appreciate that now. And yeah, so I'd say Ms. Brewer, she was awesome.
Yeah, I'm totally piggybacking on that. I remember she assigned us was it a Russian novel? Because I think she was from Russia. By Dostoevsky, Crime and Punishment. It was a punishment, but you know what? That book was really good. And it really interested me to get back into reading, because I was kind of just like, I didn't know what I wanted to do, life after high school. And she kind of really pushed us to explore that. And, I remember her pulling me aside and just being like, you are really good. Like, you're a really good writer. And I'm just like, I don't want to do that, But she continued to push, and I really appreciated that, because my job now is I have to write a lot of reports. So I'm like, it was really hard at the time, but now, I look back on it and I appreciate it. But Mr. P also, I remember I had him for chemistry. And first semester he gave me a C, and I was like, okay, I don't really understand chemistry, but I was getting by. But he was the only teacher here who gave me my first D. And then he pulled me aside and he said, you know why I gave you a D, right? And I was like, oh, because I'm just not good at this. And he was like, no, because you're really not studying. I can tell that you're not studying. And I tried to do that whole, the saddest violin, thing. And he was not falling for it. When other teachers would, he was just like, no, you got to study. You got to actually do the work in my class. And I'm like, oh my gosh, but I didn't like it then. But yeah, looking back at it, I appreciated that.
Why wouldn't you want to send us to St. John's? I mean, honestly, we saw the growth and the changes that happen. And since now it's been 20 years for Vince and I, but there's been so much more expansion here. There's diversity, amongst the population, with the music and the martial arts that they provide. There's so many more opportunities, the technology, of course, aesthetics, but it's going to be a place where they're going to teach you morals, you want to build your Catholic faith, it's just a great place all around. They're academically inclined, but they also will touch on the social emotional learning. They're going to provide like the safe space where you can be yourself, you can grow, and they're going to be there for you.
You got to come see the school. Come see the school. Call Juan, 818-894-417. I don't know what his extension is. Call him. He'll give you a tour, personal tour. I think the proof is in this pudding here. You got to come see the school. Not because we have a nice library and stuff like that. You feel welcome. You'll probably see a lot of familiar faces. We can make sure Mr. Van is here that day. I think that's what it is. I know it's hard to, especially in times are tough now, to just give blindly. And I think you should come see the school and come check it out. Walk through the halls. You just get this call. I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. You just feel at home. I don't know how you guys feel when you get here. The first time I dropped with Mikey, I had PTSD. Because running down that breezeway, if someone yelling at you, don't run down the breezeway.
Tie your shoes.
And over time, it just gets better because you start feeling like you're a little kid again.
Yeah.
And you realize you're a parent. So I think come see the school, both sides. See the whole parish. It's a different school in such a really, really good way.
What we see now in the school, all of the improvements, the expansions, is because people have given, So if you give now, then you'll get to see, the school adding more things. And it's not just the aesthetics of the place, right? It's the technology that the school purchases we're so technology driven and these kids are learning it quicker than anybody. So they need that. The kindergarten classrooms, like when Elise and Annabelle started, like they were new, and amazing. And the kids feel like, oh, this is a part of learning. It's normal, it's typical, and so. And
the kids feel that, I think. They feel that, like the investment from the school.
Yes.
That it's like, oh man, like we're getting this cool new stuff for us to use.
My little one's writing notes to Miss Dela Cruz. I love you, teacher. I love you, Miss Dela Cruz.
But like my daughter uses her, the school iPad to learn, to read books on Epic, and a lot of other schools, they don't have that, So I love that the school is able to provide not just a visually pleasing campus, but also the learning,
Yeah. When I speak to the fellow alumni, I know from our era, it's a whole different story. The things that we experienced were probably not the best, and we did great for what we had experienced and did well with what we had. But I think that if you are from this community and if you were grounded here, like when you were growing up, did you not want someone to give you that chance? And I think that's where we have to reinvest in our community because that's where we are. I think when I left the Valley, I was like, peace out, I'm never coming back. I ran back. I was like, I need my mom, I need my church, I need my people. And I came back to my friends, I came back to my group over here. And, one of the people I came back to was Mr. Yumel. He's actually should I be saying this? He's my daughter's, he's like her godfather. Sorry, dude, I'm totally messing with you here. But you always want to come back. You want to invest in these people because our future, like if we're going to rise up from this community, we need each other's assistance. And I know that if you are successful out there, that you became successful in your own accord. Imagine if you were given the opportunity. And I think if we give these children that, because some of us here, some children here are not of privilege. Some people are here because they get a grant, because they're like Mirtha, where you made a lot out of what you were given and you rose above that and you did best with what you had, and now you brought your kids back. So that's an investment in our community. And I think if we do that all together, man, when people think of Panorama City, they're not going to think of the mall. They won't think of that. They'll actually think of St. Genevieve and the quality human beings that we're raising.
She said exactly what I had going on in my head. Just the fact that, people hear Panorama City and, not necessarily somewhere where people want to run to. But the people that this school cultivates when they grow up to be adults in the real world are good people. And even, so when we first came here, when Matthew was first starting to go to school here, we passed through here and we saw some of the high school students and they greeted us. And, you know, I was like, these are really good kids. I mean, they're good kids here. So, you know, why not invest in that to, you know, help build this community? Because like we were saying, it's Panorama City. But, you know, if we do allow the school to be able to give grants to, you know, students who may not be able to afford it, you know, just out of pocket, then, you know, why not? You know, I just have seen how good the kids are here. I feel so old saying that, but yeah, they're good kids here. They're really good kids.
When my husband and I walked on the campus and we like looked around, and I showed him like, oh, like that's the senior hallway, that's this, and I'm like, wow, everything looks so nice and new and like bright. And we walk around and everything, you know, like, yeah, like there's the cafeteria. We used to have the roach coach, like, you know, there's like, you know, there's
Five
things.
burritos.
Those crinkly
Yeah.
French fries.
Oh my God,
Those
yeah.
are the best
French
fries.
Yes.
And I'm telling my husband all these things, like, that's different, that's different. I'm like, we didn't have these before, these are here. And he was like, oh, that's cool, that's cool. He's like, but you know what I'm noticing is that the kids are smiling, they're happy. And they're so polite, and like they're saying hi to us and like, hello, hello. And he's like, the vibe here is just so like uplifting. Like nobody looks miserable, nobody looks like, I mean, not to say that nobody's having a bad day, but I mean, it was just like, it was bright and it was nice, like aside from all the nice things that were around. And I mean, being able to give back to a community that you were once a part of, it's like, why wouldn't you want to give back? Like, because for like somebody else said, to give them that chance, like you would have wanted that chance too. Like we were part of an era where like we didn't have a lot, but then we started seeing a lot come in. I remember we had softball and volleyball. We didn't have new uniforms. We had to like scrounge up some old uniforms that would fit us, and they were old, like they were just like the off color, like different colors and everything. And like just for us to have a team, like, well, let's see, do we have the uniform to have the team? Okay, we have enough to have the team. And that was the way that we would come up with the team, like opposed to now where it's like there's a fund for the team, like there's that that's set aside for them, and that's cool because like the kids can have that. It's not of what can we do it, it's we're going to do it. And I think that's why you'd want to give back.
And you know, just to add to that, when you mentioned that the kids look happy, and even though they might be having a bad day, you wouldn't be able to tell. And I think that Mr. Warren is so big on gratitude. And there are so many things in this world that when we look around, it's like, what's happening out there? There's so many bad things happening, but there's also a lot of good things happening. And so it's good to take a moment out of your day to just find at least 3 things that you're grateful for. And he really instills that in this whole school from even pre-K through 12, you know? And so I think that's really important. And I feel like I work at a school, and almost every school that I've gone to, the principals there, you know, they focus on numbers, testing, attendance. But like when you really just get to know the students and embed that sense of gratitude and mindfulness, you'll see a huge difference in academics, in attendance, in social emotional learning. So.